COSATU General Secretary Phetoe has provided details of its executive meeting. He claims that the DA opposes a minimum wage and aims to scrap all the labour laws. Phetoe also accuses the Democratic Alliance of being hostile towards workers, calling on the NPA to charge the party's suspended MP Renaldo Gouws for racist comments. COSATU has also called on President Ramaphosa to appoint people who advocate workers' interests in his cabinet.
COSATU remains deeply opposed to the new liberal policies of the Democratic Alliance. The DA has a history of opposing all labor reforms seeking to improve the lives of workers. Its tendency to harbour the unprecedented racists such as Renaldo Gouws and Ian Cameroon within its ranks adds insult to injuries. We call on National Prosecution Authority to criminally charge Gouws for his racist utterances. If the DA is to be part of the GNU, then it must abandon its anti-worker and anti-transformation agenda.
All right, for more on this story, we're joined by Mike Shingange. He's now president. Good afternoon, Mr. Shingange, and thank you very much for your time. So you took the media through a number of issues that were dealt with at your Central Executive Committee meeting, but of course, the Government of National Unity was the focal point. Let's start there. It was revealed today that COSATU had preferred a minority government, but the GNU is here now, and you say the DA has to abandon what it terms, or what you term, its anti-worker agenda, or be kept away from cabinet posts that are directly linked to workers' interests. Just talk us through this.
Good evening, and your viewers, and thank you very much for having us. Yes, we have reflected in our CC over 3 days about the developments post the elections. And it's correct that the CC will have noted and respected the fact that the political parties that have contested the election have chosen the road of the Government of National Unity. They're engaging all of them among themselves on how to form a government. However, you will remember that we will have preferred a situation where our ally, the African National Congress, doesn't form an agreement with the Democratic Alliance because of our lived experience of what the DA stands for. We accept that the DA, as one of the parties that contested the election, will be in the Government of National Unity. That's not up to us to decide. However, it is important for everyone to remember what is it that the DA represents in the form of constituency, in the form of their beliefs, in the form of the policies that they stand for. So our view is that we have always known that if there was to be an argument between the two parties, being the DA and the ANC, these ridiculous demands that they are now surfacing were going to be the of the day. Even now, if they were to be at least half of what they are demanding, it will surely look like it's a coalition government. That basically, it will not look like South Africans have spread the power across the political parties, but it's a DA-led government.
Let's start with your position that they are anti-workers, because the Democratic Alliance has on several occasions argued that it doesn't hate workers, but is opposed to a dogmatic commitment to minimum wage policies and laws, which could lock many South Africans out of jobs. Basically, they say we need to choose if we want higher salaries for a few or slightly lower salaries for more citizens.
Okay. Firstly, it is the DA that on the 2nd of May this year declared COSATU as the enemy number one of the country. I don't know if that is not hating workers, that's what that is. They marched to COSATU House a day after the National Day of Action, the International Day of Workers, the 1st of May. They came to COSATU House, they declared that these workers here are the enemy number one of the country, precisely because of our support in our campaign for the national minimum wage, which, if you don't hate a worker, you will not want to employ someone and pay a meager salary that can't even afford to buy a bread. If you do not hate workers, you will not be anti an affirmative action which seeks to redress the apartheid wage inequalities that have existed since before the dawn of democracy. If you do not hate workers, you will not say that the national health insurance, which is supposed to ensure that those who can't afford the medical aid, they too can afford a basic, universal healthcare coverage without them being required to.
Now that you've touched on the NHI, the universal healthcare coverage, You have lauded the president for signing this bill into law, but you know now with the GNU that several of those political parties, not just the Democratic Alliance, have raised concern around the NHI. They all collectively have stated ad nauseum that really at the heart of it is not perhaps to deny South Africans that universal coverage. They just have a concern that perhaps it was prematurely signed by the president, given the many challenges within the health sector. Your take on just this?
Firstly, in that composition of the GNU, it is only them and the AFP that we know that they are opposed to NHI, not every other political party. Secondly, it is not true that it was hastily signed. You will know that it has taken over 20 years in the making, this national health insurance. There were white papers, there have been whatever color of the papers, including the public participation. It went through several parliamentary processes. In fact, it has been in the manifesto of the ANC for the past 3 elections. So it's not correct that it was lately signed. It was about time. In fact, it could not have come very late. For us, it came very late. So the thing is, we now know that as we speak now, the DA has not only gone to court, but they have also gone to the Public Service Commission and claiming that they are doing so on behalf of the public service to oppose the national health insurance. Mm-hmm. So we are obviously clear that they are going to try, as they represent a particular constituency, that the government of national unity, their constituents, they are going to try and fight that will reverse or also will delay. We already knew that it was going to take about 10 years, even if it was the ANC alone, to come to a full implementation of the national health insurance. Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Shingange, just to interject there.
Obviously, is going to be delayed even further or even risking it being reversed. Mm-hmm.
Pardon me for interjecting there. On the prematurity, it seems that they're not saying that this is something that was hastily brought to the public. What they're stating is that it's premature just purely based, the number of years granted, it has been long in the making, but they're saying it's premature purely because the public health sector right now is not ready for it because there are a number of challenges. We've been reporting on infrastructure issues. We've been reporting on the placement of doctors right now. There's not enough of a budget. So it seems as though those that have been opposed to it were merely saying it's premature just purely based on the health sector's ability to prepare for such a bill.
Yes, the public health care sector will never be ready for as long as we've got a two-tier system, care system that we have in the country, wherein 60% of the budget goes to the private health care and only 40% goes to the public health care. That's why we are pulling together resources. This, if you like, since 1994, is the only transformative measure that has ever been introduced by our democrat that shares the resources of the country equally, even to those who previously marginalized. So basically, for us to feed the infrastructure of the public health care institution, we need to tap into the resources that we are giving to the private health care, because I'm sure you know that the private sector doesn't thrive only because they get their resources somewhere else. They get it from the same budget of the national fiscal. That is even more than the one that it is getting the public. So the issue of the single funding, the resources put together to take care of the healthcare system in this country, be it private or public, is what is needed, and it is what is contained in the NHI. So there's nothing premature about that. It's actually about time, and it's always too late. We should have done this thing 5, 10, 15 years ago.